So now we got new rules for a nuclear war, right, fam?
Fam. So this is, I mean, when I saw this, I was like, every day I wake up and I'm like, nah, is it going to get much worse? I'm waiting to see how it gets much more cartoonish every day.
If it's possible.
And I'm never disappointed because every day there's just something more ridiculous that happens. So the Biden administration released a sort of like pamphlet thing, nuclear fallout, what to do, how to handle it, warning. But it included mask and social distancing. That's right, you guys. How to duck and cover in the age of COVID. The go-to manual now. And they specifically said you should be 6 feet apart. And they talked about how to remove contaminated clothing and blah, blah, blah. Then they said, go to the basement or the middle of the building. Stay away from outer walls and roof. Try to maintain a distance of at least 6 feet apart between yourself and people who are not part of your household. If possible, wear a mask if you're sheltering with people who are not part of your household. Children under 2 years old, people who have trouble breathing, and those who are unable to remove masks on their own should not wear them. Stay inside. Social distance, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, go to the it just continues talking about stay inside, go to the basement, stay inside, go to the basement. Reunite later to avoid exposure to dangerous radiation. So now it's not just masks for COVID, it's possibly masks for radiation. So they're like combining the two. And if you go to, and this is a real thing. People thought this was a
joke. Yeah,
a joke that it was like
it is a joke, but it's for reals. No,
it's for real.
But it's a joke. It's for reals, but it's a joke.
It's for real, but it's a joke that it's for real.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This is comical.
So this is ready.gov. And if you go, it's in English and Espanol. And it's you guys can find it. And then prepare now. Identify shelter locations. So
back to building the shelters.
So survive during blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just hilarious. Be safe after. And it goes over all the other things you can have, what a blast wave is, what radiation is, fallout. I mean, this is fucking hilarious. And by the way, why are they putting this out now? So a lot of this information was already out there, but what they did was they updated it. And you can check that they updated it. And the thing is, you can ask yourself, why are they doing this now, right? And they're doing this now because the best way to manufacture consent for war and to get you to hate a group of people is to get you to fear them.
Exactly.
And if they can get the American public, which largely is on the wrong side of this issue, at least that's what it seems like, to cheer on and go Putin bad. We need to eliminate Putin. We need to stand with Ukraine and blah, blah, blah. Yes, continue. Like Marianne Williamson was saying, please, faster, go give them more money so we can get more weapons to fund neo-Nazis so these neo-Nazis can kill more Russians. So if they can get idiots to cheer that on, then it's fair game. They can do whatever they want because it's with your consent as well. And not that they need your consent, but they do need the narrative that they have your consent. And what better way to get people to feel this way than to promote fear in them against another group of people? And this is nothing new. We just saw the duck and cover thing. This is nothing new. But because again, it's been generations, right, since this has happened. Now, the younger generations, they don't know about the Cuban Missile Crisis. They don't know about in McCarthyism the way it is now. And so, it was back then. And now it's reemerging. It's neo-McCarthyism. And so this is why they're able to get away with it. And you have to, yes, people could look at that and look and say, oh, this is scary. Oh my God, we need to take note of this and blah, blah, blah. Or they could look at it and be like, why are they doing this? Because for everything the empire does, you don't just look and read as to, okay, this is what's happening. Why are they doing this? What are the mechanisms behind this? What sort of goal would they have in mind? That's how you have to look at things coming from the intelligence community, coming from the people in power. You can't just look at things like, okay, this is what it is and this is what it says. Because these people are manipulators. These people are psychological manipulators. And they're trying to psychologically fearmonger people into fearing Russians now. Because COVID, right? The narrative just yesterday COVID was the thing. The unvaccinated were the thing you fear. The unmasked, the dirty, the anti-vaxxers. All of a sudden, Russians, Putin, anybody that stands with them, hate those people now. What's next? Think about that.
Yeah. I mean, and the whole thing about it is they've always kept the fear of Russia there. Now they're just exploiting it even more, right? You know, they always had it on the back burner. Now they just moved it to the front burner and turned it on high. That's it. And they already had people in a position mentally and trained and programmed to be there for them. So, you know, if they can always have this boogeyman, which is, you know, Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping will be him in the future, whatever the case may be. Like we said, set aside for the fact that this can all be theater going on for the World Economic Forum. But no matter what, making sure people are divided on the fact that, you know, that is our enemy. That is our boogeyman. We must always arm the military industrial complex. We must always build battleships and weapons and all that shit. And they manufacture consent that way by taking situations like this and just completely twisting them. And you, ladies and gentlemen, the American public, fall for it. There was a lot of people who wanted that $5 fuck Putin shot, and it was kind of scary. And some of those people who did it, you know, were people who voted for Donald Trump. So this is not something that's a right-left issue. This is an American fucking exceptionalism issue that we think that is our enemy, and it's been our enemy for a long time.
And so along that sort of fear-mongering propaganda, what you also get is the propaganda of dismissing this very real fascism, this neo-Nazism that exists in Ukraine and that exists in the government entities of Ukraine, which is one of the things that Russia is attempting to cut. And Alex Rubinstein had this video that he put out where it's just take after take at how the mainstream media has dismissed the very real Bandrite fascist infiltration as some sort of fake news because Zelensky is Jewish. And I'm going to preface this by saying it doesn't matter that Zelensky is Jewish. He ultimately holds very little power. It's the Bandrite fascists in Ukraine that hold power. It's also the fact that Zelensky is not going to be the first or last Jew that has worked with neo-Nazis. That's happened throughout history. Just like we have Obama, who made Biden his vice president, segregationist Joe Biden, crime bill Joe Biden, arguably a racist by so many people. I don't even think it's arguable, but you know, this is what that's the narrative they're pushing. Also, again, these people are more focused on being anti-Muslim, anti-Russian, specifically above anything, and Slovak and ethnic minorities that exist in the region. They're not just because they're Nazis doesn't mean they're primarily anti-Jewish. So let's look at how the mainstream media is diminishing the real threat of neo-Nazis in this region. By the way, the same mainstream media that tried and in many ways successfully painted truckers, working class truckers, as right-wing Nazis over one picture that decimated the internet.
Let's try and understand Vladimir Putin's strategy here. We can speak to Sergei Markov, a former MP with President Putin's United Russia Party.
How long is the video?
You're saying that the object of this exercise is to denazify Ukraine. You are, I'm sure, aware that the president of Ukraine is Jewish.
Zelensky not Nazis. Zelensky himself have read Nazis very well. He's Jewish.
Another fact Putin seems to be conveniently ignoring, that Zelensky is Jewish, and he says his grandfather fought against the Nazis for the Soviets.
Moscow police arrested hundreds of demonstrators calling for an end to a war that Putin said was to, quote, demilitarize and denazify Ukraine, even though President Volodymyr Zelensky is Jewish and his great uncles died in the Holocaust.
I've been impressed with Zelensky and how he has stood up, and for Putin to go out there and say we're going to denazify, and Zelensky is Jewish.
If Putin is to be believed, his intention is to demilitarize the country and denazify it, which is a ridiculous term.
His terminology, outrageous and obnoxious as it is, denazify, where you've got frankly a Jewish president of Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky. This guy is on his own kind of personal jihad to try to restore a greater Russia.
In explaining why he was going to invade, he said, you know what? I'm going to denazify Ukraine. I mean, take us inside the head of a spy trying to rationalize why he's invading.
He wants to win the narrative. Look, it's the height of hypocrisy to call the Ukrainian nation to denazify it. Their president is Jewish, after all.
He says that he's working to denazify the country. He's talking about Nazis in Ukraine right now. President Zelensky, as you know, he's Jewish.
It's patently absurd. There is really no merit. You pointed out that Vladimir Zelensky is Jewish. The Jewish community is embraced. It's central to the country, and there is nothing to this Nazi narrative, fascist narrative. It's fabricated as a pretext.
Yeah, even the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum here in Washington, they condemned Putin for uttering those kinds of words. Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, thanks so much for joining us.
Wolf Blitzer's a little putz. You know, they're doing it for two reasons, right? Fam, number one, they want to control the narrative so they can continue to bomb, continue to arm, but they're also using it to provide cover, because the more people look into this and start realizing that we were funding neo-Nazis, Azov Battalion, whether Zelensky's Jewish or not, once they find out what's what, they're going to start looking at them. So they're also trying to provide themselves some cover for funding these guys for the last 8 fucking years.
Yeah, and you guys can hear how they're basically repeating the same exact thing, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how you know it's
elementary
propaganda.
talking points. Yeah.
Corporate media, they and those exact words have been repeated on my Twitter by a lot of leftists, a lot of supposed socialists, a lot of people, of course, a lot of like bots and all this stuff, but they're repeating the same exact thing. That's how you know it's a propaganda. It's a complete narrative fabrication. This whole diminishing, though, of a very real existence of Nazis, Pasta irritates the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Because, again, we get called Red and Brown Alliance.
Red round.
And we
round
get
bread.
called, all these things. And it's crazy because we don't want to hyper focus on a Trump supporter or a dumb Proud Boy, which is full of feds. And we look at the people in power. And the moment there are actual neo-Nazis that we are funding, these people are like, whatever. And let's focus on the trucker some more, or let's focus on the Trump supporter over there, or let's call Putin a right winger, because that's it. Trump said something positive about Putin. That means Putin is in bed with Trump and that they're together, and it's this whole narrative, right?
Yeah.
And it really irritates me because they're not even hypocrites anymore. They're complete and total liars and complete and total lunatics for continuing to ever talk about some sort of, I'm an anti-fascist while I have a Ukrainian flag next, and I'm repeating State Department talking points and defending neo-Nazis and dismissing that. Imagine if we were actually dismissing neo-Nazis right now and they were on the other side of the narrative. What would we be called, right? I already get called like the worst names, and it's funny because and they use people they're like, yeah, she's a person of color, but it doesn't matter. She can still be a Nazi. And I'm like, okay. It's just like it's just the hypocrisy is astounding. It is next level, and I'm so done with it.
Yeah. Well, fam, I don't know what to tell you, because every single time we go through this thing, we say our life is like a cartoon. We live in it and just keeps getting crazier and crazier. And this is something we've been talking about for a long time on the show. We were in our first 8 shows in the old school studio. We talked about this several times. So, I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point. I don't know how we're going to convince anybody differently. I'm just going to go through the steps, step by step, try to talk to people about this, try to explain this to them. And everybody should out there too as well. Share these videos. We had a great video the other day on Friday. It is 40 minutes, but it's everything you need to know about Ukraine and Russia. Share it. Let's just get the information out there. You don't have to dig too far. You don't have to go back too deep. And let me tell you something. RT this whole weekend has been showing like the history of the Ukraine. From the late 60s is when they formed the country. By 1991, fam, they've already ratified and changed their constitution 3 times. It's been a fucking mess there for a long time. And that's before 1991. And the United States, believe it or not, got involved in 1991, got involved in 2004, got involved in 2014. We've always been sticking our nose in the Ukrainian butthole. And now it's stinking, and for a reason, because this shit's out of control. But I mean, people have to look and see Americans' involvement to see it's just very simple what Vladimir is doing, because at this point, he's going to say enough is enough. And how long does he let it go before he says enough is enough? And to see everybody fall in line, to see how everybody is so uneducated people who I thought, it's like we talked about in our masking when it came to, all right, maybe January 6th, forced to vote, COVID stuff. Now, like seeing people, I told people I was very surprised at some people's takes on this, and the general population, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't even know what the fuck's going on. It is scary to say the least.
Yeah.
It's scary to say the least.
It's very disappointing, and like it makes me want for the asteroid. It makes me look back at all the religions that were like saying that humanity failed at some points and they had to get rid of them. It makes me think, like, are we at that point now? I don't know. You know what I mean? But it's getting ridiculous because Vanessa Beeley posted this, and this is now more of the propaganda that we're going to show here. You guys remember Ahmed Tamimi, the little girl that fought against the IDF soldier and told him to go home? She was just a tiny little girl. Well, she's 21 years old now, but look at what this person posted. Go back to your country. Brave little girl confronts invading Putin army. Hashtag defend Ukraine. Hashtag Ukraine-Russia war. Hashtag Ukraine. This is from FR News now. That this news outlet shouldn't be taken seriously, first of all. They still had it up last I checked. They didn't take it down. They didn't issue a retraction. And they blocked people who called them out. And so Vanessa said, LOL, this is getting ridiculous now. This is Ahmed Tamimi, Palestinian girl confronting Titus thug. This video is old. It's 10 years old at least, and it's older than the person's Twitter account that they were posting it from. But this is how uneducated the public is, and this is how they get away with this propaganda. This is why the Russian ambassador to the UN was saying we can't trust anything that the media is reporting because they're reporting a lot of things that are completely untrue.
Fam, by the way, before this video plays, like we talk about the emotional left, how you get them on the emotions. This is a tactic to get also the emotional right, because this is something Mitt Romney's been talking about. These Ukrainians, they're fighting off the Russian forces, and these are everyday people, mothers, fathers, daughters. Look at this as they're fighting off these these forces. And that's what gets a lot of people, a lot of conservatives as well. This is the emotional conservatives they're going out. So take a look at this. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can just put that.
What to do?
We talked about this video a few years back. I remember we've talked about this video a few years back, and multiple times, and we even brought up what she was like now when she was in jail, and it's just how they rely on the ignorance of people, but you're right. They also appeal to the emotions. Also with the Republicans, if you notice on one of those, the thing we just showed with Alex Rubinstein, the video, they say Putin is trying to put his own jihad. Like they use the same he's just like another jihadist out there. They know exactly what they're doing. Here is another side-by-side comparison. Right. This one on the right says captured Ukrainian soldiers in Nikopol, which I believe is that's the reality. While on the left, it says captured Russians in Nikopol, as they say in Russia. First of all, it's beautiful. Stand with Ukraine.
Wow.
So it's hilarious to me. It's like choose the person who tweeted this said it's like choose your own ending. Goosebumps had those books like you can choose your own ending or whatever. It's literally like that. So pick whichever one you like. That's the media that's being promoted by these bots and these factories and these fake media companies. Where's Glory Jones?
She's here. She's listening.
So Glory had this tweet, and she said, "Oh, don't let me interrupt you scrolling through relentless propaganda with some not at all casual Islamophobia from some neo-Nazis. Lord knows the oligarchs only laugh as they don't bear the cost of war, and people cheer on the funding and arming of neo-Nazis, for fuck's sake." Okay, so this out on the Convo Couch. So this is a video of the Azov fighters of the National Guard greasing the bullets with lard against the Kadyrov orcs. Like, these are very racist people. These are very they have an agenda. They don't like certain ethnic groups. This is what the United States government and a lot of these morons are standing with. And so we'll play the video. We'll play 30 odds. This is the video showing, again, another great post by Alex. Alex has been killing it. Alex Rubinstein, on this. So he basically posted this video where it's his name is Yevhen Karas, who is the leader of Ukraine's neo-Nazi terror gang, the C-14. And he posted this speech from Kiev earlier in the month, which straight from the horse's mouth, he dispels the many narratives pushed by the left, the mainstream media, and the State Department. So let's listen to what he says. He flat out tells the truth about who they are and what they stand for.
Стільки зброї не тому, що ми хороші, як нам кажуть, нам допомагає Захід, бо вони хочуть нам блага, тому що ми виконуємо задачі Заходу. Тому що ми єдині, хто готові їх виконувати, бо нам весело, нам прикольно убивати і прикольно воювати. І вони думають, вау, давайте вже подивимося, що це буде. Тому виник цей новий альянс, про який зараз говорять там Туреччина, Польща, Британія, Україна. Тут ми тут флагман, тому що ми затіяли війну, якої не було вже останніх 60 років. Так от, уявіть собі, скільки в нас зброї, скільки в нас ветеранів. А тепер уявіть, зникає Росія, вона розвалюється. Тут виникає там 5 Росій, там Недо Росії і так далі. На європейському континенті найбільше. Тільки в Британії там, здається, більше. Ви розумієте, цей потенціал цих збройних сил, це стане проблемою зразу для всіх, хто зараз нам десь там намагається робити хенькі уколи. І оце от є наша радість і наша печаль. Чому, щоб ви розуміли, чому так все важко? Не тому, що ми, українці, 300 років, наша дупа страждала, чому ж нарешті влада до нас не впаде, ми такі хороші, ми хочемо в Європу. Ні, це величезна, потужна держава, і якщо ми тут прийдемо до влади, це буде і радість, і проблеми для всього світу. Тому це величезна, амбітна задача. Ми живемо дуже в класний час, і тому перед нами стоїть надзвичайно амбітна, класна ціль. Не просто стати там частинкою європейської сім'ї, яка вже там розвалилася, а це є, вже йдеться про те, що нові політичні альянси вже глобального рівня, нові політичні виклики.
Damn, I couldn't see that. I'm not gonna lie. I was trying to squint and read that and stuff, but
ключовим фактором однозначно і на фронті. Зараз дуже багато є спекуляцій. Ну, нациків вже ж було небагато, там, ну, ЛГБТшники, там, посольства кажуть, ну, скільки там було там нациків? Ну, нациків там було там 10% там, ну, запаяних, ідейних. Ну, це ж питання в тому, це може так казати лише Йов, який не був на війні, не знає, наскільки оцих от 10%, хоча там навіть може даже менше було, я думаю, на лісті було хай там даже 8%, ну, наскільки це в пропорції ефективності впливу, наскільки це складало просто галопуючи безкінечну підвищення ефективності. Не було б цих 8%, бо ефективність упала б на 90%. То тут не в числі мова. Так само, як на Майдані. Зараз вже почали ліваки, там, фонди Бьоля, там, і так далі перераховувати. Ну, націоналістів там було, там, да, вони були впливові. Там. Та які впливові? Не було б націоналістів, себе це от пішло б сразу на гей-парад.
Okay, so...
help me out, fam.
Yeah, so some of them, I thought you knew Russian, Pasta. I'm very devastated that you don't.
I picked up words.
I should have, you know, got a co-host that knew Russian.
I couldn't piece it together. Sorry. I know somebody.
So basically, he pretty much said, we enjoy this. We enjoy killing. We're not just, some little Ukrainian, you know, small state trying to gain power. When we gain power, we're going to be very big and we're going to cause a lot of problems and a lot of joy. He also stated that they are not just going to, at the very end specifically, he was talking about how even if they're only 10% of the government control, they have the most power. And it's not about the numbers, but it's about the power that they have within the Ukrainian government. Because a lot of the things that have been coming from the mainstream or from the, you know, the anti-Putin, the neo-Nazis are nothing. They're only like 10% and they don't matter. And it's not the whole Ukrainian government. Look, it's such a small number. You're acting like, you know, it's like the United States. No, he's literally telling you these people have an agenda to take over the entire Ukrainian government, that they enjoy this warfare, that they aren't worried about the numbers because they have the most control and the most power. So he's literally pushing back against the narrative that a lot of the left is trying
with
to
the truth
that you know, that, oh, these people are just a small minority. It's hilarious because when we say that here about the Trump supporters, which is real, like they're not the majority, like the Trump supporters might be, you know, more of a right-wing populist thing, but when we talk about real racism, it's the minority of people. The real fascists are really the people in power. And so when we say that, these idiots are like, no, you're just dismissing, blah, blah, blah. But when it's But when it's actual neo-Nazis, they use the same exact excuse, but this time is an excuse because what we're talking about is in a country like Ukraine, that is a very big portion that has a lot of power. So it's not a huge portion, but it's a small group that has so much power. So the numbers
They have power. That's the problem.
The most funded.
Yeah.
They're the most well-funded, and they have the most support by the West.
Yeah, they're the ones who have no problem going and killing ethnic Russians. Those are the ones that, you know what I'm saying, they historically from the Banderites, you know what I'm saying, they have power. They're infiltrated to every part of the military, the Congress, the police force. They're in every aspect of that government. So to say they are actually, Nazis with power, you're not lying. You're simply just telling the truth. The Azov battalion, a lot of these Banderite fascists have a lot of power within this Ukrainian government, especially since it fell in 2014.
Right. 100%. And just to end this propaganda, here's the meme, guys. Understand, you're being propagandized constantly. The media wants you to focus on certain things, whether it was the election and cheering on for Biden, who was going to get rid of all the bad things and renew the spirit of our democracy. I'm so glad he did that. And then to COVID and just following that narrative along. And of course, now COVID's over, I guess, sort of, I don't know. Now it's like, ooh, Ukraine, you must support Ukraine. You must hate Putin. You must hate Russia. This is how narrative management happens. This is how propaganda is made. You're constantly being propagandized. Always, always, always question everything.
Yep.